Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
It was a normal Wednesday afternoon in Hong Kong. The date was November 26, 2025. People were going about their daily lives. Children were coming home from school. Workers were finishing their day. The city felt peaceful. But then, around 3 p.m., loud fire sirens suddenly filled the air. They signaled that something very bad was happening in Tai Po, a quiet part of northern Hong Kong. A huge fire had started at Wong Fuk Court. This was a very large place where many families lived. It had 8 big apartment buildings, each one 31 stories tall. More than 4,000 people called these buildings home. At the time of the fire, all 8 buildings were covered in bamboo scaffolding. This was because they were getting new walls as part of a big renovation project. Green safety nets also covered the scaffolding. The fire began in the bamboo scaffolding on the outside of one building. It was Wong Chong House, one of the 8 blocks. Strong winds were blowing that afternoon. These winds pushed the flames, making the fire grow very quickly. The fire jumped fast from the scaffolding to other parts of the building. Soon it was spreading to other towers nearby. Smoke filled the sky, dark and heavy, and could be seen from far away. The speed of the fire was shocking. This event quickly became a disaster of terrible scale. Firefighters arrived very fast, but the fire was already too big and dangerous. It was classified as a Level 5 emergency, the highest kind in Hong Kong. This meant the situation was extremely serious. Many people were caught inside the burning buildings, unable to escape easily. The news that evening was heartbreaking. Many lives were tragically lost, and a large number of people were reported missing. This terrible incident would soon be remembered as one of Hong Kong's worst fires ever, leaving a lasting mark on the city's history. 2. The fire spreads. The fire started in the bamboo scaffolding of Wong Chung House. This building was one of many at Wong Fuk Court. The scaffolding, made from bamboo poles and green protective mesh, was meant for renovation work. But it quickly became a path for the flames. The fire caught on very fast, moving through the temporary materials like dry leaves. On that afternoon, strong winds blew across the city. These winds were very strong and dangerous. They helped the fire spread. The flames did not stay on one building. The strong wind pushed the fire. It made the fire jump from the burning scaffolding to other nearby towers. Soon, several buildings were on fire. Large amounts of dark smoke went up into the sky, covering the Tai Po district. It could be seen from far away. Flames appeared from windows on many floors, showing how quickly the fire was growing, even cascading down the exterior of the towers as night began to fall. As the danger grew, emergency services had to increase the fire alarm level. First, it was a low alarm. Then, within just 40 minutes of starting, it became a level 4 alarm. This meant the fire was already very serious. But it continued to spread. Later, by 6:22 in the evening, the situation was much worse. Authorities made the fire a level 5 emergency. This is the highest possible alarm level in Hong Kong. It meant the fire was a massive disaster. It was the first level 5 fire the city had seen in 17 years, showing how unusual and dangerous this event was for everyone. Hundreds of brave firefighters and many emergency vehicles rushed to Wang Fuk Court. In total, 767 firefighters came to fight the blaze. They brought 128 fire engines, each carrying water and special equipment. 57 ambulances also arrived to help the injured people. Around 400 police officers worked to manage the crowds and keep the area safe. They helped people leave their homes and directed traffic. The scene was full of flashing lights and loud sirens as everyone tried to control the fast-spreading fire and rescue residents. The fire continued to burn for many hours, showing the huge challenge ahead for emergency teams. 3. People in danger. The terrible fire at Wang Fuk Court brought very sad news. By Thursday morning, at least 44 people had died because of the blaze. 9 people were confirmed dead right at the scene. 4 more died later in the hospital after rescue workers tried to save them. Many others were hurt, with approximately 15 to 29 people needing medical care. A critical number of 45 individuals were in serious condition in hospitals. The sadness grew with the news that around 279 people were still missing, feared to be trapped or lost. This made the disaster one of the worst in Hong Kong's history, bringing much sorrow to the city. Among those who lost their lives was a very brave firefighter. His name was Ho Wai Ho, and he was 37 years old. He had been a firefighter at Sha Tin Fire Station for 9 years, dedicating his life to helping others. During the fight against the huge fire, fire services lost contact with Ho Wai Ho around 3:30 in the afternoon. About 30 minutes later, his colleagues found him collapsed inside one of the burning towers. He was quickly taken to the hospital for urgent medical help. But sadly, despite all efforts, he died soon after he arrived. His death showed the great dangers faced by the brave people who fight fires. The evacuation of residents from the burning buildings was a very difficult and scary task for everyone. It was especially hard for the many elderly people living at Wang Fuk Court. Many senior citizens there needed help with walking or used wheelchairs every day. For them, moving quickly to escape the fast-spreading fire was a huge challenge. District officials said that Wang Fuk Court had a large number of older residents, making the emergency even more complex. Some residents reported that fire alarms did not work in parts of the buildings, meaning they did not get a clear warning. Also, the building's elevators stopped working, forcing people to use dark, smoky stairs. This made escape almost impossible for those with mobility problems. The fire created many sad stories from those who managed to escape. One 71-year-old man was trapped inside the building for a long time. Another resident, Harry Chung, who was 66 years old, spoke of his deep fear and distress as he fled his home. These personal accounts highlighted the extreme difficulty and panic people felt. For elderly residents, the danger was greater due to less physical ability, trouble hearing alarms, or problems with seeing in the smoke. The failure of alarms and elevators made their desperate escape much more dangerous. This terrible event put many lives in great danger, leaving many families in Hong Kong with deep sadness and worry about their loved ones. 4. A difficult fight. The firefighters faced many big problems that day as they fought the huge blaze. It was a very difficult and dangerous fight for everyone involved. The fire inside the apartment towers was extremely hot. Deputy Director of Fire Services, Derek Armstrong Chan, later explained that the high temperatures stopped firefighters from going inside the building safely. This meant they could not enter to search for people or fight the fire from within, making rescue operations much harder. Outside the burning towers, the scene was also very risky. Bits of the building were breaking off and falling to the ground. The tall bamboo scaffolding, which covered the buildings, was also collapsing and dropping pieces. This created a serious danger for the emergency responders working below. They had to be very careful and move quickly to avoid the heavy, burning debris that crashed down around them, complicating their efforts to put out the fire. Another major challenge was getting enough water to the flames on the highest floors of the 31-story buildings. The intense heat made it difficult for water to reach such heights effectively. Even with many fire engines equipped with long ladders and special water delivery systems, the firefighters struggled. They found it very hard to direct water to the fires that were burning high up in the towers. The water streams often could not reach the very top. The weather conditions on that day made the firefighters' job even more difficult. It was a dry day in Hong Kong, and the Hong Kong Observatory had even given a red fire warning. Strong winds were blowing that afternoon. These strong winds helped the fire spread even faster, especially through the dry bamboo scaffolding and green protective mesh that covered the buildings. The combination of dry weather and strong winds fed the fire, making it more powerful and harder to control. Because of all these problems, the fire continued to burn for a very long time. It was not put out quickly. Many sections of the apartment complex were still showing scattered fires well into the next morning. The brave firefighters worked tirelessly for many, many hours through the night and beyond. Their fight against this large, dangerous, and fast-moving fire was one of the toughest they had ever known. They worked with courage and determination against overwhelming odds. 5. Looking for answers. After the terrible fire, people wanted to know why it happened. The Hong Kong police started a big investigation. They wanted to find out what caused the fire and who was responsible. They worked with fire experts. On Thursday morning, November 27th, they arrested 3 men. These men were between 52 and 68 years old. Police believed they worked for the construction engineering company that was doing the building's renovation. The company was responsible for the maintenance work at Wang Fuk Court. The 3 men were arrested because police suspected them of manslaughter, meaning they might be responsible for the deaths from the fire. The first clues came quickly as the investigation began. Police and fire services carefully looked at the building materials used on the outside walls. It became clear that these materials might not have been safe for fire. This was a very serious finding for a large residential building. Workers had been doing big renovation work at Wang Fuk Court. This work had started in July of last year and had a budget of 330 million Hong Kong dollars. The plan was to completely rebuild the exterior walls of the complex. The question now was, why were unsafe materials being used in such a big project? Investigators then made a very shocking discovery. They found highly flammable styrofoam inside the building. This styrofoam was installed outside the windows of elevator lobbies on several floors. They found it in a building block that the fire did not even reach. Senior Superintendent Eileen Chung, a police officer, spoke about this. She said this styrofoam was very important. She believed it could have made the fire spread much faster and more dangerously. It was considered a critical factor. Experts did not rule out that this material contributed to the catastrophic nature of the blaze. The police continued their thorough work, looking for all answers. They needed to understand how these unsafe materials were chosen and installed. They also needed to know if proper safety checks were performed during the renovation project. The investigation aimed to bring justice for the 44 people who died and the many others who were injured. It was crucial to understand every part of the fire's cause. People in Hong Kong waited anxiously for more news. They hoped to find out how such a big disaster could happen in their city. The search for truth was just beginning, and it promised to reveal serious problems. 6. A dangerous material. After the shock of the fire at Wang Fuk Court, people looked for answers. A big part of the problem was the bamboo scaffolding that covered the apartment blocks. This old way of building has been used in Hong Kong for centuries and is still very common today. Many other places in the world stopped using bamboo for scaffolding a long time ago, choosing safer materials. Hong Kong continues to use bamboo scaffolding for several reasons. It is lightweight, which makes it easy to put up and take down. It can also be shaped easily to fit around buildings of any design. Most importantly, bamboo scaffolding is much cheaper than modern metal scaffolding. Also, many skilled workers in Hong Kong specialize in building with bamboo. These workers and their union want to keep using bamboo because it protects their jobs and traditional methods. However, bamboo scaffolding carries a very big danger. It burns extremely easily. Government experts have known about this problem for many years. They even said that the protective nets and covers used on scaffolding should possess adequate fire retardant properties. This means they should stop fire from spreading. But often the materials used did not meet these fire safety standards. The government's own studies had highlighted the high flammability of bamboo. The Wang Fuk court fire was not the first time bamboo scaffolding had caught fire. In October of the same year, just 1 month before this disaster, another important fire happened at the Chin Wat Tower in Hong Kong's Central District. That fire also involved bamboo scaffolding and its protective netting. Since 2018, official numbers show that at least 22 people had died in industrial accidents linked to bamboo scaffolding. Despite these warnings and previous incidents, changes were slow or did not happen at all. A man named Jason Poon, who had revealed other building problems before, told government agencies about the lack of fire-resistant properties in scaffolding nets 1 year before this big fire. He said he received no response. In March of this year, the government did announce that 50% of new public building projects would have to use metal scaffolding. This showed they understood the risks. But this change did not stop bamboo use everywhere. In July, just 4 months before the devastating fire, a government official clearly stated that there were no plans to prohibit the use of bamboo scaffolds completely. This policy allowed its continued use in private renovation projects, like the one at Wang Fuk Court. This situation made many people question why such a dangerous material was still widely used for large building works, especially on homes where thousands of people lived. The cost savings and tradition seemed to be more important than clear safety concerns, which led to tragic results. 7. A broken system. The investigation into the tragic fire found bigger problems than just bad building materials. It clearly showed deep issues in how safety rules were managed in Hong Kong. An important government report from the Office of the Ombudsman, released in April 2025, uncovered that many safety checks at construction sites were fake or incomplete. This official report stated that people whose job it was to check safety, called competent persons, often signed important safety papers without actually inspecting the building sites. Sometimes these checkers would sign many safety forms in advance, meaning they approved safety without even seeing if the equipment was truly safe. For instance, documents that were supposed to prove bamboo scaffolding was safe were sometimes signed before the scaffolding was fully built, or without any date of inspection. This created a false idea that everything was safe, when in reality no one had really checked. There were also many issues with how government departments inspected building sites. The Labor Department, which is responsible for checking workplace safety, had officers whose inspection checklists were often not complete. Their notes from inspections were very general, not clearly stating what they had checked or what they found. Sometimes companies did not follow key safety rules, like holding regular safety audits or having safety committees. Yet, government inspectors often missed these problems during their routine checks. This happened because these important points were not always listed on their standard inspection checklists. Furthermore, the Labor Department did not keep good records of how many construction sites it needed to inspect, or if first inspections were even done, making it hard to properly oversee their own work. These findings showed a clear connection between the pressure to save money and unsafe building choices. In the construction industry, there is often pressure for faster work and lower costs. This can make companies choose cheaper materials, like bamboo scaffolding, even though metal scaffolding is much safer and more fire-resistant. The bamboo scaffolding industry itself pushed back against stopping its use, saying it would affect many skilled workers. Even though the government recognized the dangers of bamboo and planned to slowly move towards metal scaffolding for new public projects, officials clearly stated in July 2025 that they did not plan to ban bamboo scaffolding completely. This meant that for many ongoing or private renovation projects, like Wong Fu Court, known dangerous practices were allowed to continue. All these problems together, fake safety checks, weak government inspections, and the pressure to save money over safety, created a broken system. This system failed to protect the people living in these buildings, showing that the fire was not just an accident, but a result of deeper, unaddressed flaws in safety management. 8. A sad lesson. The fire at Wong Fu Court was a very sad event. It showed many big problems that led to a terrible loss of life. First, there were dangerous materials. The fire started in the bamboo scaffolding that covered the buildings. Bamboo burns easily and quickly, especially when dry. Many experts and people knew that bamboo scaffolding was very flammable and a fire risk, but it was still a common practice in Hong Kong construction. Also, investigators found highly flammable styrofoam inside the buildings, placed near elevator lobbies. This material is known to make a fire spread much faster and hotter, trapping residents. These choices of materials, despite their known dangers, put thousands of lives in danger. Second, the system that should protect people failed in many ways. A government report earlier in the year showed that safety checks on construction sites were often not done correctly or were simply fake. Sometimes workers or supervisors signed papers saying safety checks were complete, but they never actually looked at the building or the scaffolding. Warnings from experts and even whistleblowers about fire risks in scaffolding nets were not taken seriously by authorities. For many years, there were smaller fires and warnings about bamboo's dangers, but no big changes were made. The government had even stated that it had no plans to prohibit bamboo scaffolding just a few months before this disaster. This showed a big gap between knowing about risks and taking quick, effective action. Hong Kong must learn deep and important lessons from this tragedy. It needs to understand that saving money or keeping old traditions should never be more important than people's safety. The city must move away from using building materials that are known to be unsafe and easily flammable, like untreated bamboo scaffolding. There must be stronger, clearer rules for all construction and renovation projects. All safety checks need to be real, honest, and regularly inspected by independent bodies. Inspectors must ensure that every part of a building project is truly safe, not just on paper. This sad lesson calls for real and lasting change across the entire construction industry and government oversight. Hong Kong needs to make sure such a terrible event, caused by known dangers and ignored warnings, never happens again. Every person has the right to feel safe and secure in their home. The government, construction companies, building owners, and workers must all work together to build a safer future. This means prioritizing human life and making sure that all buildings are designed, constructed, and maintained with the highest possible safety standards. What do you think is the most important change Hong Kong needs to make after this fire?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.